Hey guys, Fennec here, and welcome to the 10-minute build video of the Alien RR5 by Riot. Of course, like any build, you can choose your own components, but the basic building techniques I show in this video should work for almost any RR5 you get. With that said, let's start the build. First off, we will open the box that the alien comes in, and start removing all the bags inside. Once you have all the bags out, begin by cutting open the bag with the arms in it. Take out the arms and all the rest of the parts for the frame. For step 1, you will need this little XT60 wiring harness along with the PDB. After turning on your soldering iron, start by stripping your wires and tinning the wires themselves. Once your XT60 harness is soldered up, you can place that on the PDB and solder it to the PDB. Keep in mind when soldering, make sure to add enough heat to allow for nice, smooth, silver, shiny solder joints. Once the battery wiring is on, proceed to tin all the rest of the pads on the PDB provided. Once finished, feel free to clean up your board with a little alcohol and some Q-tips. Once your PDB is complete, we can move on to the next step. For this, you will want to take out the screws provided to mount the arms to the alien frame. Begin by placing one of the screws through the frame, mounting one arm, and then placing the PDB on top of that. Then take one of the provided locking washer things and place that on the PDB, hand tightening it down onto the screw you just put in. Once one arm is secure, continue to place all 4 arms and repeat the process, screwing them in one at a time. Once the 4 center bolts are in, take the slightly longer screws and mount them in the 4 outer holes. You'll also want to put in the 4 middle screws and hand tighten the provided standoffs on top of them. Once all the arm mounting screws are in, take a hex wrench and tighten them down until snug. Also tighten down the 4 inner bolts, making sure that the little nuts on top dig down into the PDB and are secure. Moving on to the camera, we will begin by taking off the back plate. Once the back plate is off, take the little carbon fiber mounting plate that the kit comes with and mount that to the back. Secure the mounting screws with the little O-rings that the kit comes with. Once the O-rings are in place, simply tighten the screws back on so that is secure with the camera. Once the camera is put back together, take these little molded plastic pieces and screw them onto the carbon fiber plate. Once you have decided what your camera angle is going to be, put the screws through the carbon fiber plate and secure your camera in between them. To mount your motors and ESCs, begin by cutting down the ESC wires provided. Personally, I cut them into quarters, but do this however you like. Next, cut your motor wires to length, strip them, and tin them. Once your ESC pads are tinned, solder the motor onto the ESC. As long as your solder joints look good, you can put on the provided heat shrink to protect the ESC. Now repeat for all 4 motors and ESCs. After fastening down your motors, flip the quad over and cut your wires to length. Then again, strip the wires, tin them, and solder them onto the PDB. Again, ensure you have nice, shiny, well-soldered connections to ensure a nice electrical connection. To mount the antenna wires, mount both rear standoffs. Again, you can do this step however you like, but I found it best to use Mr. Steele's method of using zip ties, one horizontally and one vertically to the table. Simply adding heat shrink over that to secure the antennas, ensuring good polarization in dives as well as level flight. Once you have made a wiring harness for your camera and VTX, solder it onto the board as well as any voltage regulators you might need for your build. To mount your VTX, cut a small piece of the provided foam and stick it to the back of the VTX. Then screw on your antenna, bend it into shape, and place the VTX on the top plate. Once held in place by a small zip tie, you can mount your antenna and secure it firmly with a second zip tie. Before continuing any further, you'll want to power up your board and test all motors, ensuring that everything is working correctly. To mount my receiver to the back, I found it easiest to use a few wraps of electrical tape. This is very simple, but works very well and should hold it in place fine. Then take the slightly larger rubber O-rings and mount your flight controller. You'll also want to put on the nuts on the top to secure the flight controller, but I ended up using some nylon ones I had lying around so I wouldn't strip out the nylon standoffs. Once your flight controller is in place, screw in the remaining standoffs to mount the top plate. Attach the camera assembly to your top plate. Plug in your camera and video transmitter connections. And place the top plate roughly in place. Then screw in the frontmost and rearmost screws, allowing room for the battery mat to be placed on top. At this point, you'll also want to make any cutouts for your battery mat that you feel necessary so that there aren't any bumps in the battery mat from any zip ties you use to mount your VTX. Once you've made your custom cutouts, peel off the sticky backing and place the battery pad on the top frame. At this point, if you haven't done so already, you'll also want to secure your ESCs in place. Again, I found this easiest to do with a few wraps of electrical tape. You'll also want to take the provided landing pads, peel off the backing, and place somewhere along the arms, somewhere relatively close to the outer section of the arm. At this point, feel free to add a camera, battery, and any other accessories you feel you want. And that's pretty much it. You can now turn on your radio.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Plug in your quad.
Telemetry recovered.
And see if it arms. If if everything is working, put on some props, and go rip.